glad you could join me today. Today we're going to do something a little special. We're going to make a birthday cake for Canada's 150th birthday. It's going to be a maple cake and we're going to decorate it up like the Canadian flag. Now if you don't have some of these ingredients, you can just make a regular gluten-free white cake, which would have been on one of my previous videos. Just follow that recipe and then you can decorate it the same way. We're going to start with a half a cup of shortening, and if you prefer you can use margarine or butter. We're going to use shortening today. I have a half a cup of maple syrup. I'm going to pour that right in over top of my shortening, and then I'm going to cream that together the same as we would if this was sugar and shortening or butter. So it'll just take a minute to incorporate the two things together. It's funny, you would think that a liquid would incorporate quicker than a solid, like the sugar would, but in this case it takes a little bit longer. So you just keep beating it together. Now if you want, you can use an electric mixer. You do have to be careful with gluten-free cooking not to overmix things, because if there's too much air, there's not enough glue in the flours that we use to support the weight of all that air, so it usually collapses and doesn't cook in the center. So I try only ever to use spoons or a wire whisk. I try not to get too carried away with an electric mixer. Unlike a nice flour cake where you could beat it all afternoon, and the more you beat it the better the cake would be. That's not the case with gluten-free. So we've got this just about combined, and then we're going to add to this 2 eggs. I'm going to beat them slightly before I put them in, just because it's a little easier to get them combined with this mixture. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to take a fork and I'm just going to beat those egg yolks. There, and then dump this in. Then I'm going to combine this all together, and while I'm at it I'm going to throw in, this is 1 teaspoon of maple extract. If you don't have maple extract, like I said, you can just use vanilla. Alright, now we're going to take the 3 teaspoons of baking powder and I'm going to add it to 2 cups of gluten-free flour with xanthan gum. Knock that in there. I'm going to shake that down like I always do. Try not to get it all over the table like I always do. Set that back here. I'm going to take my half a cup of milk and I'm going to pour it in at this point and stir it around. Then the next thing I'm going to do is incorporate the flour and baking powder with the liquid mix. And then we're going to turn it into a greased, to get our flag shape, 8 by 11 inch buttered pan. Now you can use butter, you can use cooking spray, or you could put parchment in there. The cake's not going to be very thick, but again it's a gluten-free cake and we're spreading it out in a larger format so we can get our flag shape. If you don't have something like that, you can just make a square cake and decorate it to the best of your ability. So it doesn't have to look like a flag, we're just doing it today to make it a little special for Canada Day. Okay, so we're just going to pour this flour mixture in there and stir it all around. Alright, so now we've got the cake and it's quite thick, so you're going to spread it around the bottom of this pan. Try to get your fingers out of it, unlike myself, who has my fingers in all of it. Set this down before I make a mess. Drop the whole thing on the floor. Scrape this off with my finger. And I'm just going to work this cake batter into the corners of the little pan. Now this needs to go in a 375 degree oven for 28 to 30 minutes. You'll have to keep an eye on it because it's quite thin, it won't take long to cook. And then we'll decorate it up so it'll be pretty for Canada's birthday. So in this bowl we have 2 tablespoons, healthy tablespoons, of butter. Soft butter. And you can use margarine if you're not a butter person. And some people prefer, you know, a whiter icing, so they can use shortening instead of margarine or butter. Then I have 2 cups of icing sugar. I have 2 tablespoons of milk here and 1 teaspoon of maple extract. And I'm going to make a little frosting. If you don't want to do this, you can buy frosting already prepared in a can. There's several kinds out there that are gluten-free, but you must read the packaging because it says on the package it's gluten-free. And that's what you need to look for. Okay, so I'm just going to combine my 2 cups of icing sugar and my 2 generous tablespoons of butter. I'm going to combine those around. I'm going to add about half the milk, and I'm going to put in my maple extract. And then I'm going to beat this until it's all combined, and if as I need, I'm going to add more milk. If I don't need it, I won't put it in. You never really know when you start, so it's better to put less in than more. And once we get our frosting made, then we're going to decorate our cake. Okay, once I got my frosting made, I brought my cake that's nice and cold. You make sure that it's cold, otherwise your frosting will slide all over the place. If you don't want to make your frosting, like I said, you can buy it in the can, just make sure it's gluten-free. Then I went to the bulk food store in our neighborhood and I bought colored sugars. I got a nice red one and a nice white one. And I've had this for quite a while. It's a little maple leaf cookie cutter. So that's what I'm going to put in the center to make the center of our flag. If you don't have something like that, you don't have to worry about decorating it like a flag. Don't go out of your way or get yourself in a twist because you don't have it. You can make a stencil if you're really artistic, and if you're not, don't worry about it. I also have a piece of parchment that I'm going to use when I put the white sugar in the center, just to keep it off the red and keep it clean. And other than that, that's the only special things that I have today. So the rest of it's fairly easy. So I've got my icing sugar, and I'm just going to plop that on my little cake. As you can see, the cake's not very big, but if you're doing gluten-free, you don't need a big cake. So I'm going to take this and wipe it off my spoon with my finger, as I always do, since spoons are, you know, a long time to clean and fingers don't take long at all. There we go. Now I'm going to move this bowl out of the way. Okay. So this is my little cake. Center. What I did was I just took a cookie sheet, because I needed something that was flat, and I put a piece of tin foil over to make it look a little fancier, and that's all I did. Again, you don't need anything too fancy. You could use a piece of cardboard or whatever you can find. And then you just spread your cake all over with the frosting. The only thing you need to remember when you're doing the Canadian flag is that the red sides, although there's 2 of them, they don't equal the white section. So you need more white in the center of the cake. They probably do if you stuck them together, but the way they appear on the flag, the white section seems to be bigger. So you just go around this cake. There's all kinds of fancy ways to decorate, and I'm just trying to do it so that someone who's not a fancy baker, like most of us, will be able to make a nice little cake that looks like you went to a little bit of trouble without being too elaborate. Now, there's lots of people out there that are truly gifted at cake decorating, and they have my admiration. I'm just not a very fancy cake decorator. I like it to look nice, I like it to taste nice, and that's all I care about. Alright, so now we've got this done. I'm going to show you a little trick my mother showed me a long time ago now on how to get your frosting smooth. So I'm going to wash my knife. I'm going to take this glass with warm water in it and the knife, now that I've cleaned it off, and you just run it across the top of the cake. And any excess, you just wipe it on the side of the glass. When you re-dip your glass, or your knife in the glass, and you wipe it again. That's all you do. And you can do it several times until you get your cake nice and smooth on the top. Now there's all kinds of other fancy ways to do it. This one's the simplest. And as I call this one, you know, this is an old people's idea. The old people sometimes had a lot of good ideas. I better be careful because I'm getting up there in the old people category myself, but well, that's all you do. Now we're going to do the rest of the cake with the little sparkles. Candied sugar, I guess is what it is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this little piece of parchment here, and I'm just going to sprinkle the red on the red sugar on the end. And you can put as much of it on as you want, or it doesn't have to be totally red, it doesn't have to be all the same color. Most people are going to appreciate the fact that you've done your patriotic duty by making a nice Canada Day cake all decorated like our flag. There we go. And it's maple, even better. So, there. So we've done that. Now I'm going to lift my little piece of parchment paper, which is probably stuck to the frosting, and I'm going to flip it over the other direction. And I'm going to do the same thing down. Whoops, I better do it this way. Getting carried away with myself here. And then I'm going to put the red sparkles down at this end. Sugar, not sparkles. I wish it was sparkles. It would make a snappier looking cake. There we go. Then we're going to lift that up. Then you're going to see our white section. So you see now we've got this fairly well decorated. So I'm going to, at this point, put that back over here, I'm going to take my little maple leaf cookie cutter, and I'm going to set it sort of in the center, as close to the center as I can. It's, oh, maybe I should turn it around so you can see. Since I'm looking at it, maybe you could rather look at it. There we go. So that's in the center of our cake. I'm just going to dump some of these red sprinkles right in the center. You might have to be a little careful at this point to get it out into the little points of the maple leaf. But you could make a stencil. I'm sure there's lots of maple leaf shapes around that you could copy onto a piece of parchment, and you could just lay the parchment in the center and use that as a stencil if you wanted to put your red sugar in. You just have to be careful to get it right to the outside. Like I said, I was just lucky. I just happened to have one of these. I don't use cookie cutters very often. I'd kind of forgotten I had it. I went looking to see what I might be able to use. Here we go. See, I've got that all in, all the little branches of the maple leaf, and I guess I have. Okay. Now at this point, if you don't want to use the white sugar, you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. I bought it, so I'm going to use it. But I don't think it's necessary, really. And it just whitens up the center. Try not to get it in your red. And just use a spoon to sprinkle it on. And leave your cookie cutter or your template on there. When you're trying to add this sugar, it'll just keep it out of where it's not supposed to be. There. I think that looks pretty good. For someone who's not a cake decorator. Now I'm going to lift my little maple leaf, and then hopefully it's going to look okay. There. I have a Canada flag for Canada Day. Well, thank you for watching this program, and I hope you try this little cake and some kind of decoration to celebrate our 150th birthday.